So essentially, it was an early start. I think it was like 4:10 we had to meet. Did the usual airport stuff. Got on the plane. Sunrise vlogs. Then we landed in Switzerland, and in true Swiss fashion, it was decorated in advertisements for private jets, watches, the like. And so we essentially exited the airport. There was a nice crisp morning, I guess you could say. So then, we there was lots of I guess I'd call them sort of blue and just sort of blue glass buildings. So we saw our first mountain, which was quite nice. We saw quite a few mountains, but they weren't, I think you had to look for them, which is a weird way of saying that, but yeah. So we arrived at our hotel, which was a Holiday Inn, and I will say, as far as Holiday Inns go, the Swiss have the best Holiday Inns. You can quote me on this, it came from me first. Swiss have the best Holiday Inns, hands down. Top 10, after probably Azerbaijan. So then we saw our sort of first tastes of Switzerland. We had the trams, and we had the houses, and we had the sort of nice I guess Central European flats and looks, and the trees and the people riding around on bicycles, and we did a bit more tram riding. We did a lot of tram riding. Saw some more trams. That was a big cool tram. Now they like a Swiss flag, the Swiss, even though they speak French, which is a little bit disorientating, but they like a Swiss flag. There's about 50 million of them in Geneva. Just to remind you, you're not in, I don't know, France, even though they will speak French. Saw this big fountain. I think it might be the biggest in the world, although, to be honest, I can't remember. So then we sort of walked around a bit, really. It was just quite nice to walk around. This is the Office for Tourism and a post office. Only in Switzerland. Colonialism. I tried some chocolate, obviously, and then we sort of, at that point, awkwardly walked into a cafe. Yeah, to be honest, there's no way of describing it better than that.
I'm supposed to call Lotus right.
So then, obviously, there's a lot of displaymanship going on. There's chocolate, and there's bears, and there's tourist information things and whatnot. We stayed at something called the Brunswick Memorial, which essentially looks like Albert's Column. That's really how I'm going to describe it. There was no tourist information on it, nothing. We sat on an average bench instead of the world's longest bench. Should we go see the world's longest bench?
The thing is, it's a bench, so when we go to see it, we can just sit down.
So then we headed to CERN. It is the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. I read that off the screen. Wow. There's lots of flags and a dome thing. No, it's called videos. What do you think of the Hadron Collider, Dan?
The what?
What do you think of the Hadron Collider?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, right, okay. What do you think of Geneva then?
Yeah, it's a lovely place. Got beautiful mountains over there. It's a lovely temperature. Enjoying it.
What do you think of Geneva?
I like it, but I wish we could get a bit further out the cities to see the mountains and the lovely terrain.
Alright.
Yeah.
Would you say it's just like a B-Tech Sweden?
Yeah, very B-Tech.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So then we had this guy who was, I think, an astrophysicist, something along those lines. He sort of showed us what it was and essentially what it did, and from what I could gather, you smash particles together and you sort of record what it does. Yeah, sorry. I probably shouldn't be narrating the science trip talk, but hey. So then this guy showed us a bunch of old media, and he essentially told us that CERN stores the data for the Large Hadron Collider on tapes, on magnetic tape, which is quite interesting. You'll see there is a huge crowd standing around a black computer, and this is the computer that Tim Berners-Lee wrote the World Wide Web on, or created the World Wide Web on. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it's because of this computer. So then we sort of headed off to the antimatter factory, or something called the antimatter factory. Apparently it's in a film, I don't know which one. So then we went inside the antimatter factory, and to be quite frankly honest and polite, it was it looked like something out of NASA, but I have no clue what was going on. From what I could gather, it was a bunch of smaller Large Hadron Colliders. That's about all I could gather, sorry. It's scientific apparently, and it warrants £1 billion, so there you go. So then we exited the antimatter factory, feeling quite anti-satisfactory. Here is Yasin, who is good at science, explaining what it is.
Explain, when you have two particles, you make them go really fast, you smash them together, energy is released, and then you record the energy, and that's it.
So we then headed back to Geneva for essentially the evening. I've snuck a little reference into some earlier videos here. I'll be honest with you, I forgot to film this bit, so just imagine us eating a pizza if you want, I guess. So the next morning we headed off to what we were told was the League of Nations. We thought it was a museum on the League of Nations, as you will see here. So we turned up to the League of Nations Museum and realised it was the United Nations. Oh yeah, that's the Russian embassy. Dodgy stuff has gone in there. And then we essentially sort of walked around trying to find an entrance. And, well, I'll just roll the clip. Now, thanks to Mr. Burns' pragmatism, he went to go get us some tickets to the Red Cross Museum, and Dr. Hipshon essentially sort of gave us a talk on what the League of Nations did. Here's a summary.
Good effort, shame about the result.
So then we went to the Red Cross Museum. Kudos to them. They actually made the exhibits quite interesting, because I thought it was going to be quite boring, to be honest. So kudos to them. You had some interesting exhibits, guys. So yeah, nice one. And we walked to a botanical park. This is us entering said botanical park. This is the botanical plants in the botanical park. And then we got the tram back to Geneva to essentially go home. So this is us walking back to the airport. I mean, did you care about this? I don't know. I'll shove it in. So obviously, you know what's happening here. So we're getting off the bus, into the plane, then we took our seat, then we sort of took off. Then we landed, and Britain was really cracking the flags for us. Here is Channon walking to border security, and well, you know the rest of what happens. You go through border security, you go home. Thanks for listening. Sorry about the shoddy audio. The money from Disney Plus is coming in next week. But yeah, thanks. Bye.